Skip still here? Oh, there he is.
I am here. I am here.
Someday we need to update our waiting video. Maybe like have a flashy 2022 across there.
There you go.
Or a specific one for Skip. You know, we'll make a Texas one for you and a Nebraska one. And of course, mine will be cooler.
Much cooler. Yes.
Just that's because Nebraskans are cooler. You know, everybody
Oh yeah, yeah.
that, we keep the
Texans are hot.
population though here
Okay.
wants to live
You,
here because we keep everybody out because we're just too cool.
yeah. You be cool. We'll be hot.
Yeah. I think it was I saw the developer call today, and they're like, "Oh, it's 2 degrees or -2 Celsius," and I'm like, "Sounds like a summer's day to me." I don't know where everybody else is here. I'd have to look down the list and see which regions we have represented. For everyone else needs to know, we have people all over the world. We have people from Australia to United Kingdom to Canada to United States. We're pretty much everywhere. Even got at least one South African, but we haven't seen him on the call for a while. So wherever you
Yeah.
are.
No. We got a few down in South Africa. I think of a couple right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think he's been watching the recording. So, Richard, you need to get back in these calls. Got to represent. I know it's like 9 o'clock at night for you, but so a lot of people watch our recordings. If you're not watching the recordings, I do post them to the Wisty channel. We're slowly converting over to YouTube. We're trying to join the new cool group. We have hundreds of videos to move, so people, it's a long migration. So, anyways, today is what is today? Let's look at our mapping. Architecture audits.
Yep.
So the most exciting thing on the planet, the thing that you guys do the most, architecture audits. Some of you call them technical reviews. What other terms do we have out there?
Yeah, stack was a popular term for quite a while. I've always called them
Stack
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Infrastructure was always my term for that.
If you guys could all standardize what you have to say, if you could just come up with a standard term. So we at Virtual C call it architecture, and we say all of this falls under the architecture pillar. Whether you're auditing software, hardware, or whatever. If you can touch it, if you can sell it, it's probably under the architecture branch. Don't try to be cool. Do what you do best, from Steve. Steve, I'm not sure to take that as an insult or go with that. I guess that depends on my ego. So, do I do best? Be awesome. Okay, I'm going that direction with it. Anyways, one of the things that we start with architecture is you cannot service what you don't know you have. Yes. To make it simple. Like, for instance, this morning, being a Nebraskan, there's one thing we all know really well, and it's how to take care of our cars in the winter. It's the difference between somebody stuck in a ditch or who's got a blown radiator, and that person who's driving nice and warm all the way home. So my wife has a problem, and her engine or her heater's not working in her car. So from her vantage point, there's something wrong with her heater. From my vantage point, I'm the one parking in the garage, and I look down and I go, okay, either somebody killed a deer in here or somebody's radiator is leaking. And she's like, Adam, I can't get my heat to come on. It's so cold in the morning. I'm like, that's because there's no fluid in your engine.
Yeah.
And so this morning I took some antifreeze, poured it in the radiator, made sure I poured it in the right one. Don't pour it in the brake fluid or the power steering fluid column. That will not end well for you.
It sounds like there's a longer story with that one, I'm afraid.
Lots of friends. I actually do a decent job on my vehicles. I do know better than to open up a hot radiator cap.
That's good.
Every once in a while I see some guy with scars from those. But the reason why I bring this up with architecture audits is you have to know what your clients have so you can fix it. Whereas, like my wife, for instance, for her, it's just she had a heating problem. Well, I had to look in and see what's going on. I saw that there was a problem with some fluid on the ground. I happen to know a little bit about engines. And I see that she's got a 10-year-old van. It's probably got a crack or a leaking gasket. It's slow, so I should be able to fill this thing up with some coolant while we wait. So some people will start off with risk assessments. Some people will start off with service assessments. Some people really want to kick their year off with a QBR. Here's the problem. If you don't know your client, what are you going to talk to them about? And
Yes.
so we, in our road mapping for the year, we start off with architecture audits. So we're getting the basics out of the way. It's also the thing that you already know the most about. I didn't have to assume if my wife had an engine in her car. I knew she had an engine. Now we have a Tesla on pre-order, in case anybody else here is a Tesla fan, but that won't come in until June. So until that
Wow.
happens, I have to deal with the architecture I have, and that is engines. I have a GMC 1500 and I have a Sierra or Toyota Sienna.
Yeah.
And so I know what I'm dealing with and I know what parts I have to keep around my house. I know how to do basic repairs on these things and I know what tools I need. Come getting my Tesla, my architecture is going to change in my garage. In order to prepare for that, I have installed new electrical, I have prepared our panels for this, and we're going to be ready to go come the change. Same thing with you guys. You guys are really great at knowing what your clients are running. You can tell who's a Dell shop, who's a Lenovo shop, who's mostly laptops, which of your clients like wireless but won't spend money with you because they think one access point's enough and they're wondering why they're constantly dropping off the internet.
Yep.
And so with an architecture audit, you want to do these every year because you want to remind your clients every year that what they're running isn't good enough usually. Or if they have hit a good number, you're reminding them that now there's a next level to this.
Well, let
So,
me set the stage on this too, and I'm going to kind of start at the opposite end and work back, because I think it kind of makes the point a little bit more clear. So I get a lot of people sitting down and go, "Hey, we really want to do best practices. We want to do some sort of best practice assessment," and I like
the
those.
best
Okay,
practices.
yeah, that's not bad at all. Or we want to do, best business, industry recommendations, those kind of things. Those are fine, but I think talk about MSPs, we jump to that best practices is because if you think about it from a technical term, we can do an inventory, we can do some sort of scan really easy. And so, we can roll rapid fire out or some other tool, and it gives us a good, inventory. But that is not really an architecture assessment. That's one piece that you're going to look at. What you want to go through in an architecture assessment, you want to identify the tools, the solutions, the technology solutions that your client needs to do their given jobs. All right. It's not so important about, scanning every port in the network. It's, do they have the technology solutions available in their environment that's going to support their business? Now, let me add some more color to this on the best practices. All right. Again, I get a lot of people trying to start with the best practices, and that's not always bad. Okay. You just have to make sure you're at this point. One of the the top best practice elements that comes up is password management and password rules. And we see so many people going, all right, we need password, we need to get a handle on this. We got too many, ransomware threats that are coming through, things that happen because we had weak passwords. All right. And so they start out with all these policies. It's got to be 46 characters long, and we're going to change, the password every 74 hours, some whatever. Okay. You come out with some sort of password management policy, and that all sounds great. Your engineers come up with great, standards, and theirs is, especially when we get our engineers to develop best practices. When we get the good engineers to do it, they're cool, they're good, they mean something because they're so experience driven. But what happens when you develop all these password management policies and things, but you roll it back into the client environment and you don't have a password management solution? You don't have a tool to actually take those policies and put them into action.
Yeah,
Well, now
but
your
my
policy,
password management solution is fantastic. It's a sticky note and they go right on the side of my keyboard.
right? Yeah. So you have to kind of get things in order here before, and we'll talk about this in Q2. We'll talk about your services, which are how you use the solutions. Right now, you want to make sure that you understand what solutions are available, what's in place within your client's environment. And remember, what's in there needs to be able to support the client's business goal.
Correct.
It's not just a matter of capturing it. I had a client we worked with for a while, and I really felt bad for them. That we were third in line through a series of quick MSP changes. All right, and so we inherited a solution that had been installed by not the previous MSP, but the one before that. And to be honest, it was wrong. Someone sold them stuff they just did not need. I mean, it was a massive infrastructure, gigabit switching and redundant servers all over the place. And at the end of the day, this company didn't need even half of that infrastructure.
Funny story. Last week, Skip, I was talking to a company, and they said that they're having slowness. They're a marketing company, and they have been experiencing slow file transfers to their Drobo. Yeah, everybody in this call, turn on your engineer brains if you have one, and ask yourself, what's the first thing you do here? Now, the first thing the service provider did was, oh, well, we should install a 10 gig switch. That was the first question.
Wow.
There wasn't a, what does your network look like? There wasn't a, what do you have in place? There wasn't a, hey, what's the capacity of this Drobo? Which model of Drobo are you running? I mean, is it even one that has a decent capacity? They immediately wanted to sell. They like, oh, we can get a 10 gig switch out there this afternoon.
Yes, just sell something.
It was just sell something. Immediate go-to. No discovery, no talking about what was needed or putting things into context. Now, a lot of you would probably be like, yeah, that was a dumb idea. But this is still happening. This is happening commonly with your either with your competitors in your town. This is what the story that's being painted out there is. Yeah, they would tell you to buy a Porsche instead of Tesla. It's what they know.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. We keep tweaking on these things and keep selling the hardware, not realizing that, man, we could do a much better solution with much higher margins that would make everybody happy. You're making more money, the company's running better, and everybody's happy. So I didn't have your story. It just reminded me, like, you're selling them on all this Cadillac, these Porsches in their environments, and they don't need one.
Yes. So the architecture is, what does the client need to run their business well? All right. The way things are going today, we got a lot of our customers, the end users, they don't need servers in their environment anymore, right? That's some sort of hosted sort of solution. So to roll in with some sort of old methodology of, hey, you need a server, that doesn't fit business models anymore. But just beyond that, what technology solutions do they need to make their business work? And then here's where we're part of the solution as well. Okay, so I want to say, it's not all about the client, it's about us as well. And the technology solutions that the client needs, there's some specifics that we need. We need to line things up here. We need the stack sort of assessment. This is where that part comes in. If you've got a customer who has a lot of data traffic going on internally, they're transferring a lot of files, they have an intensive on-premise client server app. I mean, I don't know whatever the need is, they need a lot of internal communications, and they've got I don't HP switches all over the place. Does HP even make switches anymore? I don't know. Been on look for a while. All right. So, and you're a Cisco shop, all right, there's a valid reason to say, hey, look, we need to upgrade your infrastructure to a Cisco standard. Why? Because you can support it better. If they need this intensive on-premise communication, if that's critical to supporting their business, it needs to be up and running all the time. And if your shop can make Cisco work for them, then that's the right technology solution that they need. So there is a marrying of the needs and the services that you're able to provide. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure our architecture is in place to support the client's needs and what makes them successful.
Yep. And again, there's a second part of this. Like, what does the client currently have? What does the current client need? And what can they afford? So these three things are kind of like a new client lifecycle that we're kind of putting together in the software, so that as you are working with clients, you kind of work through this cycle, What does the client have? What do they need? And what can they afford? If we can answer those 3 questions, you guys should never run out of fully funded projects with any given client. And so to that end, what we want to talk about today, I'm going to make it a little blurry here. Let's see here. Is we have Joe's truck here, for instance. Joe's truck was audited last year in 2020. We play around with this a lot as a demo company. And this quarter we're looking at is January. I need to meet with Joe's trucks next month. And I should put that in my playbook, but I haven't. Skip, maybe sometime we can update the playbook. Anyways, the infrastructure assessment is here. I need to create a new infrastructure assessment. So I've got this one currently, the infrastructure assessment 2.0. I should probably rename this like 2021. You guys have your own methodology for naming things. So I'm going to create a new report template. I'm going to come in here and look for the infrastructure template, assessment 2.0. And I'm going to name this one 2022. Okay. Now, this is one way to do it. The other way you can if your infrastructure stack has not really been updated, or you are currently using the one from last year, or you're using the HIT one from last year that we still have, you can come in here and reassess their needs. Now, here's the project listing we have. So let's flip this over just to infrastructure projects. Oh no, we have nothing there for them. So we can come down here and we can start assessing them again. Go from scratch if you want to. You know, where are they? You want to get them to Office 365 this year. Cool. Oh, looks like that's already a project coming up. Probably recommended under services. But anyways, we go down this list and we kind of give them a general assessment for 2021. Where are they? Maybe ideally one of your internal engineers should be able to fill this out without calling a client. The more of these questions you can answer without calling your client, the happier your client will be during the QBR. Because you're coming in here and you're like, hey, you know, now we're up to this. Now we're here, and your engineer is filling this out and everybody's happy. And then you come in with the magic of the assessment, and you will have a QBR ready to go every year. Now, if you didn't have time to fill this out, you're in a rush, like, oh crap, we totally forgot to fill out the assessment. Just edit the one from last year, go over it, update it with all your marks where you've completed projects, and then rename it to 2022. Snapshot it, update it,
yep.
Then rename it to 2022, which I'll show you just in a second.
So while Adam's filling out, let me comment here. There's a couple of paths you can go down, and this is one of the great things about our tool. It's not a rigid, you know, steps 1 to 99 sort of deal, right? We've got a framework to allow you to operate in. I like the evergreen model a bit more. I'm more about, hey, let's run a project and run a report, and let's just update it to infinity, right? When we stop updating this report, we're just going to start with something, you know, a brand new report that's been completely redesigned. Adam's talking about an approach that I think fits for a lot of you guys, because you might not be staying on top of your architecture assessments throughout the year. So sometimes you need to, hey, start from scratch. It's January. Look, we haven't touched this report in 6 or 9 months. You know, let's just do a complete refresh and restart on this report. If you have been using this throughout the year, your engineers are touching it maybe on at least a quarterly basis, or you've had a variety of projects that you have worked through the roadmap. All right. And so remember, when we road mapping, we were able to hit 3 critical elements in the tool. 1, we assess; 2, we recommend; and then 3, we roadmap. All right. That creates this loop. And once we finish road mapping, we come back and we reassess. And if you've been diligent about sticking with that closed loop cycle of assess, recommend, and roadmap, then reassess, then I would say stick with your report. If you haven't been as diligent as you would like, or you know, you've switched things around, maybe you're using some old legacy reports and you're adopting the new HIT templates, obviously, you know, start fresh here. This is a good place. But I say all that to say there are opportunities to be flexible. Maybe the infrastructure assessment is one that you guys are on top of, and you're just nailing it every month. You have a monthly meeting of some sort, and you want to continue using this one in perpetuity, so to speak. But maybe the services is one that you sit down every year with your clients and you start from scratch. And you say, hey, this is our annual event to evaluate your services. That works too. You have the opportunities to be flexible in working through these. There's not a prescribed, have to do steps 1 to 10 sort of exercise.
Yep. So for those of you watching my screen, as blurry as it is, what you're missing here is we are 2 ways to audit your infrastructure on a existing client for the next year. So you can do what I just did. You create a new report. That's what I prefer to do. I prefer to create a new report and audit so that I have a continuous audit. Now, the more, what I should call the lazy or the more efficient way that you can do it, that is built in a managed services platform, is you come in and you have the infrastructure assessment. So it's 2021, and you can create a snapshot from current state. And we call it the 2021 or the end of year 2021.
Yep. Maybe you snapshot it just before.
Oh man.
You jump into the report, and this would come in well if you haven't visited this report in a while. Come in, take a snapshot of it, and then if you want to relaunch this as the 2022, then fill it out, and now you'll have a before and after that you can work off.
This will stay forever.
Yes.
You'll have this forever, and you can use this snapshot for comparisons and fancier reports down the road if you really want to do like a 3-year snapshot. So maybe coming up on your 3-year contract renewal, you can show them how they've grown over the past 3 years. But you go back to the original report, and now you can go down and you can say, okay, which projects did we complete? Okay, they are now, we do have them on Office 365 subscription. We completed that last year. Awesome. So this is a much faster way to update your report. What changed last year with this client? Cool, 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 done. And you go down, and now you can go back into your dashboard, and the dashboard went from, I think it was our old score was a 73. Now they're at a 77.
Yep.
And so the old snapshot will show them as 73, then 77. So you're giving that story for your client to see for progression. Now, 2 things happen when you build a story with your client is that 1, they see progression. And we as human beings love to see improvement. We like to see that there is a journey. And that makes things much, much more, that perceived value starts going through the roof. You hear this in all these talks with ConnectWise, with Datto, like you need to increase your perceived value. You can work your ass off, but if your client doesn't see that, it doesn't matter.
That is
so
true.
What we want to do is we want to show them that the journey is happening. We're increasing them. We know they're already over the ITCQ score for the year. We know we're giving them a 25% competitive advantage here. But what we want to do is now show them like, hey, we're not quite done with the journey yet. We've got a 3-year journey ahead of us. These are our projects that we agreed upon in 2021, and we're slowly moving through them because you said you didn't want to do the budget for all of them in 1 year. So we've got a 3-year budget going and a roadmap, but look at how you've improved. Now, if you use the alternate report, you can just go to Manage Linked Report, and you can select the 2022 report like I did before. And you will see the journey change as soon as you select it. But now you see there are fewer things on the list because I don't have the full history there that I had with the old report. So making the new report, the advantages are clean, and you're guaranteeing a fully updated report. Using the old report, fast. I'm talking like 10 minutes, people. And you get all of the projects that you recommended to them last year are already populated in that report. You don't have to go through and make sure that you converted all of them over. It could be that if enough of you complain about the conversion process that we need to export, or the old projects need to convert over to the new report, we can build that in. It's a lot more complicated than you think because we've got to match up old reports with new reports. So the the advantage here is to each one is that it depends on what you want to do. Again, Skip and I do not prescribe how to do things. We create a framework for you to operate in with your business that will generate more revenue. So coming back to the old way, 2020. So architecture assessment, you can make this go for 10, 15 years. So if you have a good solid stack assessment, I know a couple people on this call have a solid stack assessment. And so you're using it year in, year out. And you might see that if you look at my 2021 I had, 2022, the score actually went down. So because I have a new report, it's because new technology came out. And our recommendations are a little off because now instead of our standard base being Ubiquity, maybe it's Cisco. Maybe we switched over. Maybe there was a new product that came out that we really think is the best for our clients, and it becomes part of our standard stack audit. That's when you move to a new report usually.
Yeah. And this is a little bit of an older example, but it's a really good one. If you roll the calendar back a few years and you talk about multi-factor authentication, or 2FA, is what we started calling it to begin with. That was kind of a cool feature if you had some really sensitive information, but as far as making that a standard feature in an architecture sort of assessment, that wasn't a thing a few years ago. Today, some sort of multi-factor authentication needs to be in every environment. So we can go back. You can modify your templates. You can create new templates. So if you start with a new report, obviously you're going to get that newer version. But if you're continuing with the older reports, we can modify those reports and you can pull those updates into your existing reports that you've already run. So there's a way to update from the templates. So you have both options available to you, but it is one of the areas where you can talk to your clients and the scores are going to change a little bit. Their future state score may change as a result of changes in the technology landscape, changes in the marketplace. So did their future state score change because MFA became something that everybody needed? Yes, that makes it a little bit of an adaptable and moving target. And we're always trying to push our clients to what they need. All right. A few years ago, not everybody needed MFA. So that wasn't part of their future state. Today, yeah, in some form or fashion, for at least a few things, everybody needs an MFA solution. So it's part of our standard stack.
Yep.
So,
and a great time to review this stuff is over is over here in your strategic branch. So at the end of the year, when you're going over strategy, you may want to create a team strategy. Maybe we'll put one of those as standard, where you review what is your standard stack for the next year going to be. So you guys decide of these three pillars, like, hey, you know what? We've given people enough time. They're standard. They really need to get off of Windows XP.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
You make that your standard whenever you decide that we're raising the bar for all of our clients. This is our baseline. If you're not on this baseline, we're going to charge you a premium for legacy support. These are things that you can do. Like, hey, it's now 2022. You're wanting us to support old equipment. We have to pay for that. So we're going to increase your premium. Your baseline is going to be now $167 an hour or whatever. You increase by 10% for legacy support. But you're increasing that bar. And that's when you update your architecture report. But then your service report goes up because now you have to add legacy support in here. These are things that you decide at the end of the year when you're doing your strategic overviews. And so you tell people, hey, you're going to start scoring lower in your architecture because you're getting laptops that are now 4 years old. You have laptops that are 5 years old. Yeah. And so this bar drops, even if you don't change your stack, this bar will go down with your client as more and more things fall out of your standard stack adoption. So you want to address this every year, and you want to change this managed link in front of them. Don't do it before you get to the meeting. Come to the meeting and say, hey, this is where you were last year. Here's where we're going to take you next year. And that is how you're going to show them the growth. And that is going to wow them. That's going to make them want to buy new products. And then you can go through for the rest of your meeting and talk about what projects are coming up. and that becomes the QBR for quarter 1.
Yeah, and real operationally here, let me throw something in. You mentioned, XP, but we still have those Windows 7 machines and Server 2008 that's still floating around out there. And I see a lot of people going, look, we got to get something out there. This is a good opportunity. Maybe it's not Windows 7, maybe it's something else. All right. And if you want to put that in to your template, whether it's the new one or you're going to run a new report, or you want to bring that into old ones, either way we can do that. We can add that in. If you're on an expert membership level or above, you can go in and edit your template, and you can create these kind of one-off subcategories in there, and it in effect weights this much higher. And so it can be a really high priority, Windows 7 being a good one. Look, this is it. Support expired for this. We have kind of given all the grace period we can. 2022, we've got to get these machines out of the environment. All right. And you can set it up so we really have a red or a green status on this. It's either yes or no for this whole thing. We're not dealing with, it's kind of supportable, it's not optimal. No, it's either yes or no. We can put that in the report. And when we do that, it provides a little kicker in the scoring. And so clients are looking at that and go, wow, I thought we were doing pretty good at the end of the year. You make that change over in the report, just like Adam's talking about, and all of a sudden they see their score drop, and you go, yeah, your score is getting really drugged down because you still have 3 Windows 7 machines out there in the environment. All right. And then so they go, okay, yeah, what we need to get those out. You go through the process, you assess, all right, they got Windows 7, you recommend replace the machines, you put it on the roadmap, they do what they're supposed to do, all right, they sign off on that, you reassess, and all of a sudden their scores change. The next meeting you have with them, they're like, oh, wow, things look better. Our scores really came up. You use the snapshot comparing. You can see that progress from cycle to cycle, if it's quarterly or monthly, however you're doing that. Your clients get that more instant feedback on their scores, and they go, oh, okay, that's better. That's where we need to be. So if you have some questions on that, reach out to me. I'm happy to walk you through. I'll help you edit your templates. We can put a couple of things in there. This is a great time. You're launching these architecture reports with your clients for the year. If there's something that you want to position in front of your clients and say, you've got to get this done now, let's do that. Let's put this on in the assessment. Let's make it drag their scores down. Let's get it in front of them. And then once we get this done, things look better. And back to what Adam was saying earlier, that perceived value, the clients go, okay, these guys really are, I'm kicking and screaming, but these guys really are dragging me where I need to be. This is good stuff. Oh, you're muted, Adam.
So we're going to deep dive into this over the next 4 weeks, essentially. So what we talked about this past half hour, I know we went over we have gone a little bit over time here, but this past half hour, we have talked about architecture as a whole. Now, how does this look? How do we really understand the integration component with a dashboard? How do we export to our PSA? How do we get stakeholder data and add context to each of these pillars? And then finally, how do we take these and put them onto a roadmap of recommendations? One of the things about the MSPL tool is it's very deep. So you can do this and it'll immediately get you revenue. If you just show them the dashboard, you'll immediately get revenue. You'll show the story. But over the next 4 weeks, we're going to show you how to fully use this to tell a story, to give your clients an understanding that working with you is working with a next level MSP, that you are going to help their business succeed. So stay tuned next week as we deep dive into each of these components and show you how to use them to generate revenue in a QBR with your clients. Also, you should be scheduling your QBRs right now with your top clients. Think of your top 3 clients that you want to impress this year. You should be scheduling an infrastructure or architecture or technical QBR with your clients in February. In February, people, this is the first quarter. You'll be mid-quarter. You got to get this done. So schedule your TBRs, QBRs, architecture reviews, whatever you call them, get them scheduled. By the time you're in the door, you're going to have so much information from us and so much prepared in your tool that they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so much different than you have been in the past. So stay tuned to next week as we continue this discussion. Thanks,
See
Skip.
you guys later.